Hello everybody, my name is Sunpo and we are playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Dueling Nexus. And for a little background, I was a Yu-Gi-Oh! Player back in middle school. I started playing at middle school and also high school. As for now, not really that much. I stopped playing when there was links, when the links were introduced. And yeah, to be honest, I stay with the pendulums, but I don't use that much. I'm more a little more faithful, but I a little more faithful to stopping where the XC's monsters were there. But I did actually put some pendulums in my IRL deck because to keep some relevancy. But Dueling Nexus was basically a game that I was introduced for my friends when we go to play online and away from each other. It's been a while, and to be honest, I kind of forgot about the game until yesterday. Because to be honest, I was wondering if it's still up because there were rumors, from what I heard, that the website was basically down. But no, it's still here, which is actually pretty fine. No, well, enough. Well, pretty fine. It's like pretty well, good. You know what those words. Anyway, for this this is going to be a series where basically I'm going to be using decks from the anime. That's right. And the first up we got is Yuma Tsukumo's XYZ's the XZ's One-shot deck. The XZ's One-shot deck is basically a deck that he plays, trying to get possibly Utopia out and buff him up as much as possible. And I must tell you, when playing originally with the bot with original rule set, it is not the best. Why? Well, it could take a lot of prep work, and knowing that the bot's basically always been going to be using meta decks, and decks that always combo and chain off to each other, it's not going to be the most optimal one. You really do need that main character plot armor just to stay alive. But, I wanted to check and see, can the anime deck keep up with the meta? And here we go. Here's basically how it looks. Also, apologies for any banging outside. It was just my neighbors, and yeah, the neighbors can be a pain in the ass sometimes. But yeah, and I think I'm going to stop cussing now because I might get demonetized for this. Anyway, most of the cards in this deck is basically what the wiki says. The anime wiki says for Yuma's deck for the one-shot deck. That's a lot of decks. So basically, yeah, some of the cards in the original one-shot is basically anime exclusive. Some of the cards are anime exclusive, so I have to use cards that were basically not there originally. And I also added Mirror Force and Magic Cylinder as just a precaution into it. And also, I put some of the character, dupes of cards that he does have the deck, because without the dupes and without the add-ons and without replacements for the anime exclusive cards, it's only around 40 decks. I mean, 40 decks, I'm sorry, 40 cards. Basically, it's only around 40 cards, and that's not a legal amount. You need a minimum of 40 in a deck. As for his extra deck, I added the variations of Utopia because, to be honest, these other Utopias are much better, and I think that's the only thing that Yuma's missing. Because in the one-shot deck, it was only Utopia and Utopia Ray, which, to be honest, makes sense. Yuma usually does this one-shot deck, uses the one-shot trick with if he gets 1,000 life points or lower. But I want to see if it can keep up with the meta with basically without trying to make yourself lose so early to come out at the top at the end. That's what I'm trying to do. If that makes sense, I hope you understand what I'm trying to get here. Either way, let's get into a duel. Obviously, we're gonna do to give myself a chance. We'll do a custom game with the highest amount of life points. Now, here's the thing. I in this series we're gonna use the anime deck. I win if I have more life points than the other opponent. If my opponent decks out, it all comes down to life points. If my opponent decks out and they have more life points than me, then I lose. That's simple as that. And this deck, I tried to test this deck, and yeah, basically, this is not going to work. One card per draw phase is not going to work. So basically, 5 is basically the minimum that you should have. We're starting with the 5 here, and this is just the custom rules. We're going to have the bot basically have no access to forbidden decks, so like banned ones, and we will shuffle. I want to do 2v2, but there's 2v1, I don't have another deck. And to be honest, I could actually hop into my own, my own room as well. But yeah, 2v2s is kind of a weird thing, but we're doing single duel only. And yeah, hopefully, and sorry if I'm just having, sorry if I'm not talking so clearly or like not articulate. It's just because, well, I just ate and it's kind of a food gassy, and also my neighbor is pretty loud and being a pain in the butt, to be honest. So yeah, but hopefully you guys still enjoyed this duel. Hopefully it'll go my way, and hopefully it'll be a good recording. I'm going to pause the recording, and what you will see next is basically a possibly good duel and a good example of how to use the deck, and hopefully I can get it right the first time. Okay, I'll see you guys at the duel and enjoy the card game. Hopefully I won't lose in this one. It might take me multiple tries to get a decent one, but let's see how it works. Sorry, I got a call for in the worst time ever. I got a call. Okay, when I was just recording. Okay, here we go. Continuing right now. Okay, so that one was kind of a hectic one, but yeah, that's technically how the one-shot deck is supposed to do. Thankfully, in this type of round, it's basically okay. But I think it's the only reason why it's this good is because of its basically custom power, basically. But now so since because it can handle itself in a custom match, and even though if you really want to take custom to account, this deck is not optimal whatsoever in the custom match either way. There is a 50-50 chance that you can win, or at the very least 60-40 chance that you can win with this deck in a custom match in the same settings as I have. But in the actual default rule set, yeah, how about I show you? I think showing you how it actually would work would put some light into how bad this deck could be. Let's play with the game's basic bot, open, and yeah, enjoy this match, I guess. So yeah, to be honest, yeah, I did a major misplay right there. I kind of forgot about it. I guess I was got a little too cocky at the end, but yeah, to be honest, that was surprisingly a much more closer match than I expected. But as you can see here, Yuma's one-shot deck really relies on a heavy set amount of cards, and the only way to actually get any XCs out on the table is to basically play a custom game where you can actually put most of your cards in a in the graveyard and have them special summon directly. And dupes are basically a must for this deck. So yeah, this deck not that great. It's super awesome and super OP in concept if you can get all your cards played out right. But you might be able to actually beat anyone with this deck if your opponent basically has a basic deck that basically just follows the basic rules and stuff like that. I think you can still keep up with this with regular basic synchrons and XYZ decks, but when we get to pendulums might actually be the biggest savior for this deck. And to be honest, I think if you guys want a part two, just maybe put a comment down below that you want to see what would it look like if we have pendulums in this deck instead. I'm only gonna be putting a few just for the scales, and that's about it, so I can special summon a bit more. But other than that, yeah, Yuma's deck, I would say for concept, I would say like a 9 out of 10, but in practice, this deck literally is basically a 4 out of 10. So yeah, those are the official score, 9 out of 10 for concept, and in practice is 4 out of 10 because it is not optimal whatsoever. I just kind of got lucky of how optimal it is for this type of basic bot, but yeah. Well, that's it for me, and that is Yuma Tsukumo's one-shot XYZ deck. My name is Sunpo, and I'll see you guys in the next part where we're going to be using another character's, you know, another character's anime deck that they use. I think you'll maybe using one of the Pharaoh's decks, possibly. Who knows? Well, see ya.